You found it. Your home for the best content on your favorite team, the Fighting Tigers of LSU. Do us a favor. Subscribe to the channel. Leave your comments below. Be sure to smash that like button. Let's start with some thoughts on LSU, a 28-25 winner over Mississippi State on Saturday in Starkville. Anytime you can go on the road and get a win in the SEC, that is something that should not be taken lightly. So a lot of people were doubting this team going on the road. My hand's in the air. I thought Mississippi State would win the game. I was skeptical about LSU's defense and their ability to slow down this Mississippi State offense or stop them from scoring. And Durante Jones put together the exact right plan to combat that offense. Maybe the most surprising thing was after the game, T-Bob and I are doing whiskey and wine, and the preponderance of the opinions were that were people complaining about the defense. And I was perplexed by it because a year ago, you gave up 44 points and 623 passing yards to that team and lost in your building, and it left everybody wondering, where's the zone? Where's the rush 3, drop 8? Where's the defense that is the thing that's proven to give Mike Leach's offense trouble? And then LSU actually went out and did it this year, executed it perfectly, and people were upset because of the amount of yards you gave up. Y'all, I don't care how many yards you give up to Mississippi State. I don't care what the box score looks like. The only thing that matters is the scoreboard. And until Mississippi State got in the end zone on that seam route with 26 seconds left in the third quarter, your defense had allowed 3 points in the ballgame. It was a fantastic plan defensively. It was perfectly executed. I understand that the end game, late in the fourth quarter, it got a little nervous because State scored on 3 consecutive possessions. That's probably to be expected when your defense is on the field for 88 plays. I would actually flip it and say, after Cole Taylor's touchdown and State answered with a score, when LSU went 3 and out right there, it was the play where Max kind of threw low to Jack Besh, and Jack might have actually caught that ball, but I understand why when it went to review, it wasn't going to get overturned. If it had been ruled a catch on the field, it would have stood, but either way, a better throw, you get a first down there, that ices the game for all intents and purposes. So a little bit of execution there. Maybe you possess the football a little longer. You don't get into as tense a situation as you got into, but all in all, I thought it was exactly the right game plan. State had 29 first downs to LSU's 15. State outgained LSU by about 150 yards, passing 371 to 280, rushing 115 to 63. State held the ball for 10 more minutes than LSU did, and LSU never really felt threatened in this ballgame. So however it looked, maybe not aesthetically pleasing to some or to all, but it's exactly what you had to do to win that game. And the other thing that I'll point out with respect to how the defense played, you now have a 4-game sample size of this defense. You have a 4-game sample size. In the 4 games, other than Saturday, the other 3 games, have you seen them run that defense at all? No, because it is a game plan specific, opponent specific plan that LSU executed on Saturday, and they did so, I thought, brilliantly. Because, listen, I'm not here to pump sunshine and rainbows and tell you that all's well and this team has no problems. But there is a macro and a micro conversation that can take place. In the macro, big picture, yes, this team still has flaws. You only ran the ball for 63 yards, 2.3 yards per carry. You're having trouble getting a push. You had a 3rd and 1. You tried a quarterback sneak and you got stuffed, on your first offensive possession. There were a lot of things in this game. We talked last week about 50-50 balls from Max Johnson that were touchdowns against Central Michigan. How would it look against an SEC opponent? Well, he threw a 50-50 ball and it got picked. I mean, yes, there were things in this game that you didn't love, but overall, that's the big picture thing. Like, yes, they have shortcomings. that on the road at Bama, or maybe at home against Florida, or maybe on the road at Ole Miss, or maybe against Arkansas, at some point, those flaws, those blemishes may cost you a game. And that's likely to be expected at some point. But when you have the opportunity to go on the road in the league and get a road win in conference against a team that beat you in your building last year, and by the way, I am very much a believer in the balance of power, in the pecking order. You hear me say this often. Doormats need to be doormats. If you're in the Big 12, Kansas should always suck. You don't need Kansas having their moment, going winning an Orange Bowl like they did back in 2011 or whatever year. I think it was 2011, whatever year. 2000, maybe it was 07. It was 07 when they won the Orange Bowl with Mangino. But regardless, you need doormats to be doormats. In LSU in the West, you got to play Bama and you got to play Auburn, and you got A&M in your league now, you're in your division, and you got to play Florida every year. When you play Mississippi State, that needs to be a win, even when LSU is not playing at LSU standard. That's why LSU won 14 in a row in this series, like 22 of 23. It's how it should be when LSU plays Mississippi State. You should always win that game. So it keeps the balance of power in order. So even in a quote-unquote down year for LSU, you still go on the road and beat Mississippi State. That's how it should be. So, yes, I'm happy the way that everything played out on Saturday. You're 1-0 in the conference. You got a conference win on the road when a lot of people after UCLA thought LSU wouldn't win a conference game all year, which, of course, was ludicrous. There's enough talent that they're going to win conference games. So, glad to see that. Couple other takeaways from the game. Mississippi State radio shows today are probably lamenting missed opportunities, and I understand that, but I don't really care what Mississippi State radio is talking about today. The bottom line is, if State's turnovers and their shortcomings were their own fault, that would be one thing. Like if they had fumbled a snap or something like that, or fired a shotgun, a punt snap over a quarterback's head and cost you a possession. That's one thing. Cordell Flott's forced fumble on the first possession, aggressive tackle from a corner. Heads-up play by Damone Clark to scoop it and return it 40 yards and flip the field. LSU only had 113 yards of total offense in the first half. That 40 yards essentially gave LSU the opportunity to get on the scoreboard with that touchdown. So heads-up play by Damone Clark to scoop it and return it instead of just falling on it. The interception by Cordell Flott. He's a pterodactyl, and Will Rogers thought he could drop one over his head, and Flott made the play. Mississippi State was on a lengthy drive. Mississippi State's field goal drive, their only scoring drive in the first half, was a 14-play, 80-yard drive that ate up 6:19 off the clock, and they got a 3rd and goal from the 2, and Neil Farrell blows it up and gets a tackle for loss. That's not Mississippi State screwing up. That's LSU being opportunistic defensively and making a play. And you saw that time and time again in this ball game. So if there was one moment in the second half maybe where it got a little tense, it was after State scored to make it 21-10, and you're kind of feeling like, man, maybe, just maybe, State gets the ball back. We've seen them make the comebacks. If you were watching the TV broadcast, they referenced all the comebacks under Mike Leach, and LSU was lining up to punt, and that's where they got the leaping penalty, the 15 yards. 2 plays later was the Cole Taylor touchdown. At that point, it was 28-10, and it was really over. So LSU controlled this game throughout. It's always great to go on the road and get a win. There's so much more I want to talk about. Tackling was fantastic, and it had to be in this ball game. Max Johnson's production continues to be fantastic. Is he perfect? No, but I think context matters. That's a guy who's only made 6 career starts. 6 career starts. And do you realize Max Johnson right now is 16th in America in passing yardage, 2nd in passing touchdowns, and he is pacing right now in a regular season. He's pacing for 3,400 yards and 45 touchdowns. Now, I'm not telling you he's going to keep that pace throughout, but that, in context, is incredible because pre-Joe Burrow, we all would have passed out at the thought of something like that. So if you end up with a 3,000-yard passer with 30 or 40 touchdowns, that's incredible. It's going to give you the opportunity to win a lot of games, and you can see Max Johnson keeps getting better and better and better. So all of that was very good. Obviously, the offensive line and the running game continues to be a problem. That's going to cost this team somewhere down the line, but you did what you had to do to go on the road and get a win in conference. You take it, and you're on to the next. And, of course, the next is Auburn. And for many reasons, that adds an extreme level of intrigue because of what happened on the Plains with TJ Finley leading that comeback. That is something we certainly will be talking about throughout this week. But LSU beats Mississippi State 28-25. They've won 3 in a row. They're 1-0 in conference. And they're a home favorite this week against Auburn. Let's see if they can maybe start to string these together. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact. And be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.